A former Massachusetts high schooler was found guilty of sexually assaulting two 18-year-old students. However, he will not face any prison time, and he will also not have to register as a sex offender. This story is a continuing trend that we've been seeing in cases involving rape, and David Becker is the 18-year-old who apparently gets the benefit of the doubt and doesn't face any real consequences for his actions. Now, Becker had been charged with 2 counts of rape and 1 count of indecent assault stemming from an April 2nd house party at which he allegedly penetrated the 2 victims with his finger while they were unconscious, according to court documents. So what allegedly happened was there was some sort of party, and during that party, there were people drinking, doing whatever they're doing. And then party ends, and these 2 girls decide to stay behind to help clean up. It was a house party. After they clean up, they go upstairs to rest, and then at that point, Becker follows them in and sees that they're unconscious, and then apparently starts to fondle them, insert his fingers into them while they're sleeping. They both woke up and saw what was happening, and they were upset about it. Now, Palmer District Court Judge Thomas Estes ordered Becker's case continued without a finding for 2 years, and he was sentenced Monday to 2 years of probation. Becker will not be required to register as a sex offender. And by the way, if you're wondering whether or not he is guilty of this crime, according to reports in a text message to one of the victims the next day, Becker apologized for the assault. The victim responded with a text telling Becker, "Don't even worry about it," but later told police that she said this because she did not know what else to say. By the way, he is apparently a star in 3 different athletic teams within that high school. And his lawyer says, hey, we want to make sure that he's going to have a great college experience, so this is great news. We want to make sure he doesn't face any consequences for his actions.
Well, for his lawyer, I suppose it is. At first, I thought it might have been the judge who said it, which would have made my blood boil, because he didn't want the burden of the stigma of being a sex offender. But it's his lawyer, which makes more sense. Here, I'll give you a quote from his lawyer. He says he can now look forward to a productive life without being burdened with the stigma of having to register as a sex offender. The goal of this sentence was not to impede this individual from graduating high school and go on to the next step of his life, which is a college experience. That must be a nice, lovely experience that he's going to get. Okay, so look, I think that we've got to decide here. Is this a crime we're going to prosecute that we're going to take seriously, or is it not, right? So if you're not going to prosecute it because of difficulty in prosecuting the case, or the victims decided that they were not victims, that it was okay. Okay, I get it, that happens, right? And not everything that's alleged is either real or proven. Those are 2 different things, right? It might have happened. You might not even be able to prove it in a court of law, beyond a reasonable doubt, etc. Or it might not have actually happened. So we understand all of that. But if it is a real sexual assault, and the victims say it is, and the DA thinks it is, well, then let's take it seriously and not worry about the offender's college record and whether he's going to have a pleasant college experience. I know that's his lawyer's words, but the actions and the results matter the most.
Yeah, what's pretty incredible about this is not that he won't be facing any time in jail or prison, or that he's not going to have any real consequences or register as a sex offender. What I find interesting is not only did he get let off easy, they made it easier for him to travel to Ohio, where he's planning on going to college, to serve his probation. Right? Usually that's not the case. Usually, you can't leave the state. You got to serve your probation in the state. It differs case by case, but usually in rape cases, that's not what happens. And so, he really did get let off easy. And I do want to give you guys, all the details so you know. One of the victims, didn't say anything about whether or not she felt he needed to be in prison. The other victim said, in a statement, that she did not believe that the offense warranted time behind bars. Okay.
Okay, so that's relevant, and so maybe the appropriate thing to do if you felt that way is maybe not even press charges. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if you've got a sexual assault here that's adjudicated as a sexual assault or a rape, well, then we can't be worried about whether the guy is going to have a lovely college experience and the judge basically saying, oh yeah, go to Ohio, we'll make, let you serve the probation there.
We'll make accommodations.
Right, no, and even though it's sexual, like some guys will urinate in public because they're drunk and
yes,
and they'll be put on a sex offender list. largely because they weren't a three-star athlete, or they didn't have any kind of power, or the judge didn't relate to them, or whatever it was, right? And for the rest of your life, you're so restricted on where you can live because you urinated in public. Meanwhile, this guy, we're saying it's a rape. I mean, they're saying it's a rape, right? We're not. They are. And then, but let's make sure that he's comfortable and well served. And there's just a disparity here that's disconcerting.
A lack of consistency. And, you know, there are two things that really bother me here. The fact that some people, you know, get hit by the law, you know, big time, and their lives do get destroyed as a result of that. And, you know, it also sends this message that if you come from a certain socioeconomic status or a certain background, you can do these things, and even if you're found guilty, you won't face the consequences for it. That scares me.
Yeah. And look, he was charged with 2 counts of rape and 1 count of indecent assault and battery. But by the end, when they reached this conclusion, even though it was a conviction, it's not even registered as a conviction.
Yeah, it won't be on his record.
Right.
It's amazing.
Okay. Some plea bargains, I understand. This one seems a little extreme and out of whack with what other people get.